the motorcycle ramp that flipped. Have you ever dreamed of soaring over a line of buses like a human rocket, only to crash and burn in front of thousands? That's exactly what happened to daredevil Johnny Blaze in 1974, when his high-flying stunt turned into a nightmare of twisted metal and broken bones. Picture this. Johnny, clad in a flashy leather suit that screamed overconfidence, revved his customized Harley up a massive ramp at a packed stadium in Ohio. He promised the crowd he'd clear 15 buses, shattering records and defying gravity like some kind of motorcycle messiah. But physics had other plans. As he hit the ramp, the bike's front wheel caught air unevenly, flipping the machine end over end in a spectacular arc of doom. Johnny slammed into the pavement at 60 miles per hour, shattering his leg in 3 places and leaving the bike a mangled heap. Fun fact, eyewitnesses said it looked like a cartoon gone wrong, with sparks flying and pieces scattering like confetti at a disaster party. What drove him to try? A mix of ego and a fat paycheck, but in the end, he spent months in traction, rethinking his life choices. Would you risk it all for a few seconds of fame, only to end up as a human pretzel? The wingsuit leap that crashed. Ever wondered what it feels like to plummet from the sky in a glorified squirrel suit, only for a gust of wind to turn your dream flight into a freefall fiasco? That was the reality for extreme sports icon Alex Rivers in 2018 during a wingsuit-based jump off a cliff in the Swiss Alps. Alex, decked out in a high-tech fabric suit designed to mimic bird wings, launched himself into the void, aiming to glide through a narrow canyon like a living bullet. But midway through, a rogue thermal updraft caught him off guard, spinning him into an uncontrollable spin that no amount of training could fix. He clipped a rock face, tearing his suit and sending him tumbling into a ravine below. Rescuers found him with multiple fractures and a story that went viral overnight. Fun fact, wingsuits can reach speeds over 150 miles per hour, making mid-air corrections about as easy as dancing on a tightrope during an earthquake. Alex later admitted he ignored weather warnings for the thrill talk about a costly mistake. Imagine strapping on wings and leaping off a mountain. Would you trust the wind not to betray you? The fire-walking fail that backfired. Have you ever thought about striding across a bed of glowing coals like some ancient shaman, only to slip and turn your feet into Blister City? That's what unfolded for motivational speaker Elena Vargas in 2015 at a self-help seminar in California. Elena hyped up the audience, promising that walking on fire would unlock their inner power, drawing from rituals that date back thousands of years. She stepped onto the coals first, her bare feet sizzling on the 1,200-degree surface, but halfway through, her focus wavered maybe from the heat or the crowd's cheers and she lost her balance. Down she went, rolling off the path and scorching her legs in a blaze of irony. Paramedics rushed in as the seminar turned into a spectacle of screams and scattered embers. Fun fact, fire walking works because of the Leidenfrost effect, where a layer of steam protects your skin, but one wrong step and you're dealing with second-degree burns faster than you can say, ouch. Elena's mishap went viral, with memes comparing her to a cartoon character slipping on a banana peel. It's hilarious in hindsight, but relatable. Haven't we all tried something bold and flopped spectacularly? Would you risk third-degree burns for a confidence boost? The underwater escape gone wrong. Picture this. You're chained inside a water-filled tank, holding your breath like a pro diver, but the locks jam and suddenly you're fighting for your life underwater. That nightmare became real for illusionist Marco the Magnificent in 2009 during a live show in Las Vegas. Marco, inspired by Houdini's famous escapes, had himself shackled and lowered into a giant aquarium, vowing to break free in under 2 minutes. The crowd held its breath literally as he twisted and turned, but the custom locks, corroded from a previous rehearsal mishap, refused to budge. Panic set in as water pressure built, and his assistants had to smash the tank with axes to pull him out, just seconds before he blacked out. He emerged coughing and bruised, his ego as dented as the glass. Fun fact, professional escape artists train for hours in simulated conditions, but even they can't account for every variable like faulty hardware that turns a trick into a tragedy. This stunt highlighted the thin line between bravery and recklessness, and Marco joked later that he'd stick to card tricks from then on. It's a wild reminder that not all escapes end with applause. Would you lock yourself in a watery coffin for the thrill? The high wire walk that wobbled. Ever fantasized about tiptoeing across a wire strung between skyscrapers, balancing like a circus acrobat with nothing but air below? That's what tightrope walker Sofia Blake attempted in 2021 over the bustling streets of New York City, but it quickly devolved into a heart-stopping horror show. Sofia, clad in a safety harness that she later regretted not double-checking, started her 100-foot crossing on a wire thinner than your arm, aiming to beat records set by legends like the Great Wobbled. Winds picked up unexpectedly, turning the wire into a vibrating string, and halfway across, her foot slipped on a patch of moisture from the morning dew. She dangled precariously, swinging like a pendulum while the crowd below gasped in unison. Emergency crews scrambled, and it took a tense rescue operation to haul her back to safety, leaving her with rope burns and a story for the ages. Fun fact: high wire acts demand impeccable focus, as even a slight breeze can shift the dynamics. It's like walking on a thread while someone shakes the floor. Sofia's blunder became a viral sensation, with TikToks turning her wobble into a meme storm. It's equal parts terrifying and entertaining. Would you risk a 50-story drop for a standing ovation? The rocket chair explosion. Have you ever considered strapping yourself into a homemade rocket chair, blasting off like a fireworks display, only for the fuel to ignite prematurely and send you hurtling into chaos? That was the fate of amateur inventor Rick "Rocket" Thompson in 2017, during a backyard stunt in Florida that he live-streamed for his YouTube followers. Rick, obsessed with 1950s sci-fi, rigged a chair with jury-rigged thrusters and fireworks, planning a controlled liftoff to touch the clouds. But as he hit the ignition switch, a faulty valve caused a massive backfire, propelling him sideways into a fence and showering the area with sparks and debris. Neighbors called emergency services as Rick limped away with minor burns and a wrecked invention. Fun fact: amateur rocketry has a storied history of fails, from early NASA tests to modern DIY disasters, often because one small miscalculation can turn excitement into explosion. Rick's video racked up millions of views, with commenters roasting his setup as a death trap on wheels. It's a hilarious yet cautionary tale. Would you trust your engineering skills to launch yourself skyward? And there you have it, the wild world of stunts where ambition crashes headfirst into reality, from roaring motorcycles to fragile wings. If these stories got your adrenaline pumping, hit that like button, drop a comment with your own craziest stunt gone wrong, and share this with a friend who needs a reality check. Subscribe for more tales of daring and disaster. You never know what might inspire your next adventure, or warn you away from it.